It's Monday. Let's talk NXT and Smackdown. Sami Zayn is basically saying that he understands that everyone thinks he's a failure, that everyone thinks that he can't win the big one, even when Adrian Neville said it last week to end the show. But the fact remains that he may have failed in the past, and he understands that, and he owns up to it, but he doesn't live in the past. He lives in the future. And the future is the road to redemption, this present leading him on a collision course with the NXT champion Adrian Neville. Now, of course, before he can go any further, he's interrupted by Titus O'Neil, who basically issues an open invitation for a match, pretty much saying he's going to be the roadblock in this road to redemption. So we get our main event announced for later on in the evening, being a rematch between Titus O'Neil and Sami Zayn. Titus, of course, had Sami Zayn's number last time. Sami Zayn's going to make sure that he does not get defeated again. We kick off the show with our first match. It is a 5-team Battle Royal to determine who will face off against the NXT Tag Team Champions Kalisto and Sin Cara, the Lucha Dragons. Teams included Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake, Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan, Enzo Amore and Big Cass Colin Cassidy, the Vaudevillains, and of course Connor and Victor the Ascension. Now, why they did not throw together another team to make it an even 6 is beyond me, but I'm not a booker, at least not in WWE, so that's basically what we had. Short Battle Royal, pretty much elimination upon elimination, just like normal Battle Royals go. Not as absolute fast as the Divas Battle Royal was on SmackDown, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, Murphy and Blake and Dillinger and Jordan are fighting on opposite sides of the ring, and at one point, Connor and Victor just like, zoop, slip them right over the top rope to the floor. So that leaves the Ascension with Big Cass and Enzo Amore, because the Vaudevillains are nowhere to be found. Now, of course, they're hiding on the floor, because it's a smart heel tactic in a battle royal to hide on the floor, and then come for the attack after the person is eliminated, so the last team could be vulnerable. Now, unlike some battle royals, the way to eliminate one guy from the team eliminates the entire team. So we don't have a strange bedfellows tag team or anything like that. If you threw out Jason Jordan, then Ty Dillinger's gone. If you throw out Simon Gotch, then Aiden English is gone. If you throw out Connor, then Victor's gone. So yeah, that pretty much means that one elimination eliminates the entire team. So there's a lot of pressure on both men to deliver. Well, when we're down on the so-called final 2, obviously the Vaudevillains nowhere to be found at this point. Enzo ends up getting tossed into Big Cass, who's on the ring apron, and we think the Ascension have won. Of course, the Vaudevillains attack from behind, but not before Hideo Itami comes out and distracts the Ascension, leading to the double elimination from Gotch and English, and that makes the Vaudevillains the official number 1 contender to the NXT Tag Team Championships. My guess is they're probably going to get their title shot at TakeOver. Excuse me, since it's the next big NXT event, next big 2-hour NXT event, and it's going to be coming live from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida on the 11th of December, and as long as everything works out, I'll be there in attendance, so yeah, we've got that. After the double elimination, the Ascension get back in the ring, and they charge the Vaudevillains. Of course, they escape. Well, they start to focus on Hideo Itami, and basically, he hits the ring, and he ends up getting a couple of great shots in, some kicks in, but of course, he gets mugged, and that's pretty much the end of him. And they do the tandem elevator down and send Tommy down to the canvas. Connor gets on the mic and basically says, "We don't want you here, go back to Japan, or we'll send you back to Japan in a box." So, basically, they're threatening to kill Hideo Itami and ship his remains back to Japan in a box. Gotta love pro wrestling sometimes, folks. Obviously, there is an announcement later on in the show that Hideo Itami is tired of the 2-on-1, and he's bringing a friend. So next week, as in the NXT broadcast that's going to be on this Thursday night, there is going to be a tag team match. It would be the Ascension against Hideo Itami and his partner. I know who his partner is, and it's going to be a great match, and I'm pretty sure they're going to face off in a outright tag match at TakeOver as well, if you believe any speculation. So Emma comes out, makes her triumphant return to NXT, and she faces off against the Statland, that's not even a word, Staten Island Princess, Carmella, still coming out to the ripoff of Iggy Azalea. So, she basically calls herself the princess. She says, bada bing, hottest chick in the ring. And this match was short. Emma got a lot of offense in. She hit the dilemma. She locked in the dilemma, and the second that Carmella landed, she got hit with the Emma Mite sandwich in the corner, and Emma was going for the Emma lock, but Carmella ends up getting a drop toe hold and does her bridging side head scissors and gets the submission there. So Carmella wins, and Emma is in a match that's really short, but it actually showcased her skills very well. Emma was on both shows this week that I'm recapping, so that was interesting. Our next match is Justin Gabriel against Bull Dempsey. This match was short. Gabriel's downfall came with a middle rope swinging DDT, which gets caught, and he basically got up and overed. And Bull hit the Vader attack off the ropes, hit the falling headbutt off the top, and got the 3 count. Bull Dempsey is continuing to be a force in NXT. Don't really have any direction for him to go yet, but he's kind of just there. Not face, not heel. Complete throwback, no theme. Basically, shouldn't even have theme music, but he does anyway. There's someone else on the show that doesn't have theme music, but that doesn't make much sense. We get Bayley in the back, and she's basically saying that her former bestie, Becky Lynch, has been brainwashed by Sasha Banks. Way too many B's in that statement. And Bayley understands that her friends have turned on her in the past, but she's going to utilize the addition of her new friend Charlotte, who has also turned her back on her in the past, to help her out in a tag match next week. So not only are we getting Hideo Itami and his partner against the Ascension, we're also going to be getting a tag match with the team of Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch taking on the NXT Women's Champion Charlotte and Bayley. That's going to happen next week. Our next match is Marcus Louis, still looking like a soccer hooligan with no music and really like wicked teeth, and he looks like basically what they tried to do with Nigel McGuinness and TNA with Desmond Wolfe, but they didn't really go full out with it. I really think they could make the soccer hooligan gimmick work for Marcus Louis. He faces off against his former Legionnaires tag team partner, Sylvester Lafort, who is sporting gear that may as well have come from the Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker store of wrestling gear. This match is real short, and there's a clothesline, almost like decapitates Lafort, and he basically says, you did this to me, you did this to me, and he hits a Uranagi and gets a 3 count off of that. So Marcus Louis dispatches Sylvester Lafort, and I really think that he's going to find someone else to do his bidding for him and go after Marcus Louis if he can't get the job done himself, and I think that's probably the right direction to go. Now, in the middle of this, there is a squash from Baron Corbin, just obliterates Tony Briggs in like 20 seconds, and the fans are like getting along with this. They're actually getting to the point that they're chanting how many seconds the match is going. He hits the end of days, and that's the end of that. Excuse me. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do with Baron Corbin from this moment forward. He's a lone wolf using the old Barry Windham gimmick, and he's actually going to be really interesting to see what we do with this. Who's his next feud going to be with? Who's his first feud going to be with, honestly? Are they going to make him a face or a heel? Doesn't matter. It's just going to be him just obliterating guys. Him and Bull Dempsey is probably going to be a match we're going to get eventually. Two guys just don't care, and they want to obliterate their competition. So I think that that'll probably be, if I had to guess, that might be your takeover match. At least on the pre-show, if not on the main card. Main event time, Sami Zayn against Titus O'Neil, and I just realized right now that Sami Zayn's theme music, the new version of it, sounds a lot like, I might be wrong on this, and it may just be my hearing. It's early, so obviously I'm not really thinking completely straight yet. It sounds a little bit like Rush, gives the fact that obviously Sami Zayn's Canadian, so it makes perfect sense. This match was pretty good back and forth contest. Titus ragdolling Sami Zayn numerous times with bear hugs. And it's really nice because when Sami Zayn ends up taking advantage right after Titus got really overzealous, he got cocky and he tossed him to the floor. And Sami beat the count. Then he tossed him to the floor again, and he beat the count. And he tossed him to the floor again, but he didn't get to the floor. He landed on the ring apron, and this pretty much began the downfall of Titus O'Neil in this match. And it was really interesting because he hits a shoulder block into the midsection, a forearm, a neck snap, goes up top, hits the flying body press, only gets a 1 count, ends up ducking the clothesline, and Sami Zayn gets clotheslined out of his boots by Titus O'Neil. So, he gets a 2 off of that. He goes for an over-the-shoulder backbreaker, Colt 45 style, and gets a 2 off of that. He drags him to the middle of the ring. He tosses him to the corner. He charges in. Sami catches him with the exploder suplex in the corner. Hits the haluva kick, gets the 3 off of that. Match over. Tyler Breeze comes out and says, "You may have been able to beat Uggos like Titus and Tyson, but the fact remains you never beat me. And if you want to prove you're a real contender to the NXT Championship, step in the ring with me next week. It seems like your road to redemption is getting a detour to Cuteville." So, we're getting Tyler Breeze and Sami Zayn next week on top of the 2 tag team matches and probably a couple more matches on that. So, NXT next week looks pretty good. So, I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, we're still on the road to NXT TakeOver in December, and obviously everything's going to lead to that, and we're just going to go week after week after week, build storylines, and obviously the end game is Sami Zayn finally vying for the NXT Championship and somehow, some way, winning the championship off Adrian Neville at TakeOver, and I truly believe that will happen. Do I know anything more about that? We'll talk about it later. SmackDown time starts off with a Divas Battle Royal, Halloween Battle Royal, so obviously they're dressed in different costumes. Paige comes out dressed like Summer Rae, complete with blonde wig and all. She's dressed in yellow. She looks kind of cute, actually, I'm not going to lie. And she even tries to do like the demi-plie on top of the top rope like Summer does. Doesn't really work very well. Tries to do the dance. The actual next participant is Natalya. She comes out dressed like the Queen of Hearts. Gee, shock, surprise. Naomi comes out dressed like, I'll quote AJ on this, she looks like a sexy Devon Dudley. Basically, not going to lie about that. Summer Rae comes out looking, oh my god, so gorgeous as a nerdy schoolgirl. Kind of looks a little bit like, harkens back to her olden days. If you saw like older pictures of Summer Rae, you'd understand what I mean by that. And it also kind of looks a little bit like something that Katy Perry would wear in one of those parody videos she does. Layla comes out dressed as like a mime / clown. She fit really well in Giggles and Gore, but not quite. Emma comes out dressed as Jane. Which is funny because Tom Phillips calls her Tarzan, and she can't be Tarzan because obviously she's not Jane. Look a lot more like Jungle Jim Steele than Tarzan here. Rosa Mendez comes out dressed like a zombie nurse. I don't know why she's a zombie anything. She's dressed like a nurse. Makes sense, I guess. And the zombie stuff, didn't really see any makeup there. So WWE, you suck for not doing good makeup there on the zombie. Cameron comes out dressed like a cop, and you gotta believe with Cameron's personality on Total Divas that Vinny has probably seen that cop outfit a time or two. That's probably her own outfit. Alicia Fox comes out dressed like a firewoman. Okay, sure. And then Nikki Bella comes out dressed like a very weird-looking black cat. The winner becomes the number 1 contender to AJ Lee and the Divas Championship. AJ's on commentary. She's mocking the participants as they get eliminated. Rosa Mendez is the first that's tossed. And that makes perfect sense. Before this, we find out that Nikki won't let Brie compete in the match because she has to go get some sort of a Louis Vuitton purse from some place in Texas. And she's dressed as Daniel Bryan, of course, but she's not allowed to take off the costume. She has to go dress as Daniel Bryan to get this Louis Vuitton purse. Okay, sure. Anyway, Naomi tosses Rosa. Natalya eliminates Summer Rae, and then Alicia Fox eliminates Emma. Paige tosses Layla, and Natalya and Naomi pretty much eliminate each other. No, they eliminate Cameron, and then Natalya eliminates Naomi because she wants the Divas Championship. Foxy eliminates Natalya, and she eliminates Paige accidentally, and that means Nikki Bella wins without really doing much. So yeah, Nikki and AJ at Survivor Series for the WWE Divas Championship. I'm not looking forward to this, not at all. So we get our next segment of the evening. Kane comes out with Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury, and of course, Mr. Money in the Bank himself, Seth Rollins, wishes everyone a happy Halloween. Says the main event tonight will be Cesaro against Dean Ambrose in a trick or street fight, which I actually like that terminology. Rollins thinks it's a great idea, but what happens if Bray Wyatt gets involved before the match can start? So Ambrose is going to fall just like he did at Hell in a Cell. And Kane basically says, I'm just being honest, yet I still get booed. I don't deserve this. And we pick up our first match of the evening. First real match of the evening, sorry. Our first singles match of the evening being Kane facing off against the Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler in a non-title match. This match was short, and we'll pick it up midway through. Jamie Noble got on the ring apron after Dolph hit the name dropper for a 2 count. Dolph swatted him, and of course Noble dropped down and got nailed with a big boot 1-2, and he kicked out of it. Goes for the goozle, countered float over sunset flip 1-2, and a kick out. Super kick connects, and he charges into a choke slam out of nowhere. 1-2-3, Kane wins. Match over, choke slam, and leaves him laying. Noble and Mercury pick him up, and Kane delivers the bad news. God, I miss Wade Barrett. And basically, that Seth Rollins is going to be facing off against Dolph, and that match happens now. Bell sounds, Rollins hits the curb stomp, 1-2-3. So obviously they're going to make Dolph pay for talking to John Cena. He's not even admitted that he's got any intention of joining Team Cena at Survivor Series. No, he's just talking to John Cena. So if you talk to John Cena, you're going to get obliterated like that. That's pretty much how it's going to work now. Heath Slater comes out dressed like a scarecrow. Why? Because why not, I guess. So it's his favorite time of the year, and he says he's a big, brave crow. And he goes to talk about what John Cena did with AAing him on Raw Monday night. And of course, it is stopped by the Feed Me More. Here comes Ryback. He comes out. Heath Slater gets one desperation right hand. He celebrates like he won the World Series. And Ryback ends up nailing with an arm wringer, yanks the arm off, and he basically gets laughed at by Slater. Slater's like, ha ha ha, it's just trick or treat. And that was a trick. And he's like, you want to trick the big guy, does Ryback. And of course, he tosses the hand up in the air, the fake hand, eats the spine buster, meat hook, shell shock. Hay is everywhere, obviously, with the straw from the Scarecrow costume. And that's the end of that. So the Battle of the Former Nexus is ended rather abruptly by the big guy. Ryback most likely will end up on Cena's team at Survivor Series, thus proving that anybody that Cena is going to be teaming with at Survivor Series is probably someone that Cena has feuded with in the past, or at least someone Cena has beaten. So we get Adam Rose, who actually shows back up on television for the first time in forever, and he's with the Exotic Express, and they're going door to door in the locker room going trick-or-treating. And they run into Goldust and Stardust, and what happens? The tag team champions kind of just, like, snap at him, like, literally snap at him, like, argh! Like, they chat their teeth at him. And they go to the next door, and he runs into Sin Cara, and Sin Cara is dressed as Michelangelo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But, yeah, he says, cowabunga, and that doesn't work. Gives him candy, though, so at least they get a little candy. They run into R-Truth, he's dressed as a ghost. So many wrong things with that. R-Truth marks out for the bunny, and he says, how do you like being overshadowed by the bunny? And Adam Rose is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, I mean, you might as well as realize that your sidekick is overshadowing you. And he's like, no, we're one big happy partying family. And he's like, no, I just would let you know right now that the bunny not only is overshadowing you, you might just want to dress like the bunny, because if you did, then you might actually be noticed by everyone. Because most people probably forgot you exist. Sometimes that's truth in there. I have a feeling Adam Rose and Truth are going to meet on Raw tonight, honestly, unless they just save it to SmackDown. It might have just been a throwaway line, but I think it makes sense that would be something that Adam Rose would end up doing in the long run. Miz TV with Mark Henry. So Miz and Sandow come out, and of course, Mark Henry says the Big Show was jealous, and has been jealous the whole time, and he wasn't fighting for America. He was basically fighting to show up Mark Henry. So he says, you know what, this battle's not about size, it's about strength. Obviously, you're a giant, but I'm the world's strongest man. Big Show comes out, and of course, he gets in the ring. The Miz and Damian Sandow are basically shoved aside by Mark Henry. Well, Mark Henry shoves them into the path of the Big Show. Big Show shoves them aside. They go to the floor, and Big Show ends up getting sent through the barricade by Mark Henry. So yeah, we're going to continue this, whether it's a singles match or whether they both join the Authority and Cena teams at Survivor Series, which could happen. Again, Big Show being on Cena's team. Obviously, another reason that I say that anybody on Cena's team is probably someone he's feuded with in the past, or at least someone he's beaten. Big Show fits that criteria, so it makes perfect sense. So yeah, we're going to continue that. Goldust and Stardust taking on Los Matadores in a non-title match. Los Matadores actually get a one-up on the tag team champions because they focus on El Torito, and El Torito ends up arm-dragging Stardust on the floor. Goldust is watching this. He got rolled up from behind, 1, 2, 3. So they're going to start pushing the Matadors, which I don't have a problem with. But the problem I have with the Matadors is I think their gimmicks are really... I don't like the gimmick of the Los Matadores, the El Matador Tito Santana garage sale that they got their gear from. I don't like it at all. Why don't they just be the Colognes? I think they should be. Tag team, obviously, they're known. They're former tag team champions. Why don't they just take off the stupid hoods and do something else with Torito, and they can obviously have their deal back as an actual tag team. And if they're going to beat the champions, I think that they may end up getting a shot at Goldust and Stardust at Survivor Series, and that's the reason why the Usos are going to be on Cena's team. So if the Usos were not going to be on Cena's team, do you really think that the Matadors would have got a non-title win on SmackDown? No way. Wrestling 101 tells you that the reason why the Matadors out of nowhere got a title, are going to get a title shot at Survivor Series is because the former contenders, being Jimmy and Jey Uso, are going to be on Cena's team. Makes sense to me. Rusev squashes Khali, and that's pretty much the end of that. He basically says that he beat the Real American and Jack Swagger, and he beat the World's Strongest Man, and he beat a Giant American, and now he's going after the American Champion, so he's going to go after Sheamus in the United States Championship. He basically says he's going to win the championship and give the title to Vladimir Putin. So Sheamus comes out to reiterate, and he says he's wanted this opportunity ever since Rusev first got here. He's been waiting for this chance to face off, and of course he goes for a brogue kick out of nowhere. Rusev powders, and we're going to have some fun here. Now, obviously, Sheamus has been pretty stale for quite a while. But the problem is, with his staleness, there is an actual bright side. The bright side here being the fact that when he faces off with the right competitors, Cesaro, and soon-to-be Rusev, he's actually going to get the best brought out in him. And I think that Rusev and Sheamus are going to have quite a brutal feud. I think it's going to be rather entertaining, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Bray Wyatt comes out for an explanation of what happened on Raw. He basically says that Dean Ambrose doesn't get to take off his mask like everyone else does, obviously, after Halloween. He parades it for the world to see. Everyone loves it, and they love him for it, but the fact remains, they don't understand why. Well, Bray knows why, is because he's different, and he's like a creature. He's an animal. He's a monster himself, and Bray knows because, obviously, he knows his own. And basically, he says he knows how it feels to have somebody's life in your hands when you're squeezing around on their throat. Very graphic imagery. When obviously Ambrose got Rollins in the cage at Hell in a Cell. And he says he knows who Ambrose is because he can see himself inside him. I didn't mean to make it sound like that. He can see himself in Dean Ambrose, obviously. He says he knows all the horrible things that he's done, and his eyes are locked on him. You don't just get to wash your filthy hands away. Your sins will stain you forever. And I thought you'd really just like to know that she still cries for you. Follow the buzzards. So I'm going to guess, the way the WWE is, you know the extended belly we've been seeing in the promos for the Wyatt family in their rebirth in the company? The extended belly, I hope they don't go this route, but it's WWE, so they know how to screw something good up. Maybe that belly is caused by Dean Ambrose. That would be his big secret. That Dean Ambrose fathered the child of this next of kin of the Wyatt family, or Bray's sister, or something like that. I hope they don't go that direction, but I can totally see WWE doing that. She still cries for you, that just sets it up. I just hope we get a straight up feud between these two. And I think if we do, the promos alone are going to be glorious. I think Bray's probably going to say something on Raw tonight, and I'm pretty sure he will. So we get our main event as Cesaro against Dean Ambrose in a Trick or Street fight. The ring is decorated with Halloween paraphernalia. There's witches' brooms. There's pumpkins everywhere. There are candy corn colored Singapore canes at ringside, which look awesome. There's like bobbing for apples buckets like at ringside. There's all sorts of craziness. Not necessarily brutal, but it was an entertaining match. It was a fun match, and midway through, like towards the end, Cesaro ends up getting sent to the floor when he gets clotheslined over the top to the floor. But before this, he sets up his own demise, of course. He sets up like numerous pumpkins in a patch. And then he boots Ambrose down and sets up more pumpkins. And then he boots Ambrose down and sets more pumpkins. So he sets it up, he goes for a suplex, it gets blocked, he floats over, lands on his feet, Ambrose with the waist lock, Cesaro with the standing switch, and he goes for the German, he blocks it, back elbow from Ambrose. Ambrose watches Cesaro charge, he pulls the top rope, and he low bridges him. Cesaro grabs the candy corn cane and nails Ambrose in the leg with it, sending him down, pulling him to the floor, by the way. And he stops him on the apron. Repeated cane shots to the ribs. He clears candy off the table. He shoves the table over, and he's got this big bucket of candy, which Ambrose drop kicks right into his face, sending candy flying into the crowd. So, like, basically how a piñata works. But a bucket, too. So hopefully the bucket landed at ringside and not over the barricade, because that would be bad. So, basically, Ambrose leaps off the ring apron, gets caught. Cesaro throws him over the announce table. And Ambrose ends up catching Cesaro with a cane shot off the announce table with his shoulder and tosses him in, ducks the clothesline, and Cesaro gets high back body dropped onto the ginormous pile of pumpkins. Cesaro gets clotheslined over the top rope to the floor. Ambrose goes for the pescado and ends up getting hit with a cane right to the ribs. He puts his face in the apple bucket, he spits the water out at him, and he ends up hitting the snap jabs, leaping headbutt, grabs a skeleton from around the ring post, and he hits Cesaro with it. And then he goes for a snap suplex on the floor, which somehow takes the skeleton with him. So, at this point, Cesaro grabs a chair after he clears the table of all the paraphernalia, hits him in the back, and he goes to hit him again, but Ambrose grabs the witch's broom and starts nailing him with it. Firebolt this is not. So, Ambrose gets on the ring apron, climbs the middle turnbuckle, grabs the broom, and literally rides it down with the elbow through the table. So basically, the Harry Potter elbow through the table. He tosses him in. Cesaro stops it with a jawbreaker, and the jawbreaker rocks him back out of the ropes, and of course the jawbreaker lariat, and he puts a pumpkin on Cesaro's head for whatever reason, hits the Dirty Deeds version 2 and gets the 3 off of that. Match over. Ambrose is talking to a skull. Cesaro is still got a pumpkin on his head, or gets another pumpkin put on his head, hits the Dirty Deeds again, and that's the end of that. So, fun match. Basically, you get a lot of gaga on holiday editions of the show, especially when you realize that not many people are going to be watching your program on a holiday. Obviously, I waited until today to watch it, so that's always that. Which means I was like 3 days after everyone else did. I could have watched it Friday, but I didn't. Smackdown's been really like wishy-washy with me lately. It's alright for what it was. Would I recommend on this show? Not much. Not much at all. Really? At this rate? The promos are fun. Goldust and Stardust against the Matadors is fine. Cesaro and Ambrose was fine. That's it. That's all I recommend on the show. Everything else was just done to further storylines. I like the pull-apart. Well, not really a pull-apart, but I do like the altercation between Sheamus and Rusev. I think that's going to be fun. And Ryback squashing Heath Slater's fine. I got no issues with that. The Divas Battle Royal, yeah, it was that. I don't want to see Kane and Dolph Ziggler ever again. Hopefully we don't get that match tonight again. Miss TV with Mark Henry's fine because we actually got a reason why he did what he did, and he did it because of jealousy. Big Show's jealousy, not his own. So, yeah, this SmackDown was just, it was okay. That's all I can really say. So yeah, that was a SmackDown NXT for this past week. Join me tomorrow for Raw, and of course Wednesday we're going to bring the vlog of randomness talking about going to a theme park solo, the pros and cons of it. And Thursday, brand new sip and snack. We're going to be talking about Rice Krispie treats, and we're going to go into the dark side of Skittles. And one more thing, which is to be announced. So we'll talk about that later. And then Friday, we'll kick back into AJ's movie reviews. We're going to talk about Interstellar and Big Hero 6 with 4 other films on top of that. Saturday, we'll hopefully bring Ashley's Gaming with Ash segment back. And Sunday will be your brand new Versus, which should be really fun as well. And throughout this week, look for sprinkled throughout Halloween Horror Nights content. I am currently watching the Hollywood videos. We're actually going to go watch Saw theatrically in about an hour or so. Once that is done, I'm going to come back here, watch the videos of Hollywood's event, do a video for Hollywood's event, and then later this week, the final Halloween Horror Nights 24 video, my final recap of all of the events, the houses, the scare zones, and the shows, and everything under the sun. That's all coming later this week on Pop. In the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, help spread the word about Pop. If you haven't yet, go to Facebook, click like on our Facebook fan page. Takes a couple seconds, and we really would appreciate it. Suro and Disney Pop on Facebook. Send me a friend request on Facebook if you would like to do it that way. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Suro and Disney. And also, if you would like to send me an email in order to talk wrestling, or Disney, Universal, Halloween Horror Nights, you want to ask me questions, become a popcaster yourself, have ideas for the vlog of randomness, or sip and snack, or versus ideas, or anything under the sun, if you would like to become a popcaster yourself, you can send your content as well to suroanddisney@gmail.com. So in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.